welcome to your practice today. So last week's practice was with a waning moon that was moving towards the new moon. And so we had to really bringing the energy level down and really calming the nervous system. This week we're working with a waxing moon. And so we're going to be building energy through our practice just as the moon is building energy moving towards its fullest. If you, like me, have been doing a lot of yard work and gardening and planting, it involves a lot of this kind of action where we're closing off the upper body and kind of hunching our shoulders a lot, which can lead to a lot of tension and tightness in the upper body as well as fatigue. So today's practice is going to be energizing and kind of help to wake you up. Great for a morning practice, great for an afternoon when you really feel lagging, which I do at about 3 o'clock. And we're going to be working with backbends to open up that front body, which in itself are very energizing. One of the quickest ways when working with the body that I find to let go of some fatigue is to work with my feet before I start my physical asana practice. So if you have, first of all, if you have a couple of blocks, have them handy. I'm sitting on mine. Have a ball, and if you have some of these little spiky balls, these are awesome for the feet. If you're really sensitive feet, you might just want a tennis ball. And if you don't have a ball, that's okay. What we're going to do is just wake up the feet. So if you have a spiky ball, start rolling your feet with your spiky ball. If you don't, just use your hands. And we're just going to wake the feet up. There's so many like reflexology points, marma points, if you're talking about energy in Ayurveda. So we're just giving a really nice, quick little massage. Went too far forward there. And you can even use your fingernails like I would be doing with the spiky ball. We're just kind of massaging like a cat does with their paws, just in your feet to wake up all those little energy centers. And you can take your toes and put your fingers between your toes and spread your toes and draw them back and draw them forward. And then just wake up through the arches and the heels, and then the Achilles, that part behind your heel, just draw that area up. And do both feet like that, whether you're using a ball or your hands. And just wake them all up. And start to feel your feet. We stand on them all day, and we're really very unaware, unless we're in pain, of what's going on in our feet. And once you've had a chance to wake your feet up a little bit, we're going to come to standing. And bring your feet wide, hip width wide. Bend your knees a little bit. And feel into your feet, into that connection. And you might already begin to feel a little bit woken up just by waking up the feet where all those energy points are in our feet. And bend your knees and just begin to rock back and forth a little bit. And you might just even begin to sway nice and soft, just really feeling into this. And let your arms swing a little bit. Just taking inventory as you just move really gently of what you're feeling and where you're feeling it. And feeling into those soles of your feet that you just woke up. And let's start to move our shoulders. So let's just start by rolling the shoulders up and back. And you can keep swaying back and forth on your feet, or you can plant them with knees bent. As you do this, I like to bring a little more movement into it. And then you can start to lift the elbows a little bit to bring a little more movement into the arms and into the shoulders, and maybe lifting the elbows a little bit more. And maybe really lifting and beginning to make arm circles. And you can bring some rhythm into it with your bending of your knees if you feel like it, and you can begin to reach across and back and across and back. And then let's switch it up like you're swimming, bringing it forward and reaching across. And just really beginning to warm up those shoulders. And just making organic movements with your arms and begin to feel some warmth in the shoulders and in the arms. And begin to feel some of that energy begin to move. And maybe we do both arms back again together. Be mindful if you've got shoulder things going on. And then just let your arms go. Bring your feet a little closer into mountain pose. And take inventory. Feel what you feel in your shoulders, your upper back. Feel into your feet. And bring awareness to your breath. And begin to breathe into the belly. Bring hands to the belly. And let's take 3 nice big breaths. Inhaling into the belly. Exhaling out your mouth. You can stick out your tongue like lion's breath. Inhale into the belly. Exhale, mouth. One more time like that. Inhale. And now we're just going to jiggle. So just all the jiggly parts, let them jiggle. Jiggle the legs, feel your belly jiggle, feel your bum jiggle. See if you can jiggle your shoulders and your arms. Just jiggle everything. Shake your head. And then stop. Come into stillness and again take inventory. Feel everything that you feel moving through your body. And just that little bit that we did, maybe you were even feeling a little different already than when you started practice. But let's come to the top of your mat if you're not already at the top of your mat. And we're going to begin to build some strength through some grounding and some twists, and then begin to move into our back bends. So let's just start with chair pose. And a really easy chair pose. We're not sinking to our deepest here. We're just getting the knees moving and really feeling into the feet here. So as we inhale, bend the knees and reach up. We're going to do this 3 times. Exhale, come out. I've got my feet hip width apart and I'm spreading the feet away from one another energetically. Maybe I'll do it this way. Inhale, bend the knees, reach up, spreading the feet apart. Exhale, come out. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, reach up, exhale, come out. And one more time. Inhale. This time we stay here. Take an inhale, reach up, and as we exhale, the right arm swings back. We come into a little bit of a twist, reaching our arms in opposite directions. Inhale back to center, and exhale opposite side. So left arm comes back. Inhale back to center. Let's do one more time to each side. Exhale, open to a twist. Check in with your knees. I know that right leg wants to come back. Inhale back to center. Left side. Exhale, left arm reaches back. Look towards your left thumb. Inhale back to center. Exhale. Rise up. Take a moment in your mountain pose. And then inhale, reach up to the sky. Maybe look up and lengthen up to lengthen through your spine. And as we exhale, we bow. And then bend your knees, let your tail be heavy, let your head be heavy, let your arms be heavy. Then slowly roll up. Notice all those parts of your spine that might be a little stiff from whatever it was that you were doing. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, reach up and really lengthen up. Make space between the vertebra. And then exhale, fold forward. Bend your knees, let your tail and head be heavy. And slowly roll up. And as your head comes up, let the arms roll open. Reach up and lengthen up again. And let's do the last one. Exhale, fold forward. Bend your knees, let your tail be heavy, let your head be heavy, and inhale, roll it up. And then this time as we inhale and reach up and lengthen through our spine once again, we're going to fold forward and move through a modified sun salutation. So inhale, halfway lift this time. Exhale, stepping back with your right foot. You seem to have a really big obstacle here. So this is where you can use your blocks in your lunge, if you wish. We're just going to get into the back of the hips and the back body with a reverse lunge. So exhale, draw the front leg straighter and lift the toes and your back heel towards the mat. Inhale, come forward. Lift your heart and lengthen. Exhale, hold over that front leg. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale back. Inhale back into your lunge and drop the knee this time. Option to keep hands on your blocks or on the floor, or intertwine your fingers, bring them to the top of your thigh. Lift the heart here. And then exhale, hands come back to your blocks or to the mat. Lift the back, knees step forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow and step back with your left foot. Coming into lunge on your second side. Reaching the heart forward, lifting the gaze. Exhale, reverse lunge. Lift the front toes. Back heel moves towards your mat. 2 more times like that. Inhale, again, hands can be on blocks or fingertips. Exhale, reverse. Inhale, forward. Last time on reverse. As you exhale. And then inhaling forward, dropping that back knee. Option to keep hands on your blocks or fingertips to your mat, or intertwine your fingers to your knee and press up. Lift the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale, hands come back down. This time, as we lift the back knee, we're going to step back into downward facing dog. You can also take the option to step back into tabletop rather than down dog, if that's better for whatever's happening in your body. Take a nice deep breath, bend your knees, lift the hips high, rise up on your toes, and then let the heels sink to wherever is appropriate for you, keeping your knees as bent as you need so that you can have a long spine. And then let's all drop to our knees for cat-cow. This is also really great for loosening up hips, shoulders, and spine especially. So for our cow, as you come forward with the heart, sometimes I like to rock back and feel into that whole front body here. And retain my inhale just a little bit here, and then exhale, curl the spine up, and maybe rock from side to side. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. And this time exhale into child's pose. So we're going to do a little kind of like a modified flow here from your child's pose. We're just going to slink forward, glide forward, and come onto the belly and come into Sphinx pose. So elbows are roughly under your shoulders. If that's too much of a back bend, bring your arms out forward. And create that action as though you're drawing your shoulder or your elbows back towards your hips and pressing the tops of the feet down. And lifting the heart and creating that traction to help open the front body a little bit. And then we're going to exhale all the way down. I'm not sure how my microphone is going to work as I come onto my belly, so I may have to modify what I'm doing here a little bit. So you're going to start with your arms extended, palms down, and your forehead down. I'm not putting my forehead down just because of the microphone issue. So we're going to do opposite arm, opposite leg. So start by extending right arm, left leg as you inhale, and then as you exhale, lift up both arm and leg as well as your gaze and your heart. Stay here for an inhale and release down on the exhale. Let's do other arm, other leg. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to lift up. Stay here as you inhale and expand, and exhale, release down. One more time to each side. Right arm, left leg. We inhale to lengthen. We exhale, we press up. Stay here as you inhale and exhale to release down. Last one. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, lift up and stay for the inhale. Exhale to release down. Release your forehead down too. And you can rock from side to side. Release any tension in your back. And then press up and back, child's pose. Just take a breath or two in your child's pose. Set your intention here in your child's pose if you haven't already set an intention for your practice. Take a breath with your intention. And then inhale to rise up on your knees. Let your knees be hip-width apart. Bring your hands to your hips with your thumbs towards your spine on your sacrum and your fingers wrapping around the hips. And we're coming into just a little bit of a baby camel. So strong through the legs. We're just really looking at lengthening and lifting the heart and drawing the shoulders back. So just opening through the heart. Not really a big back bend. We're just at the beginning of our practice here. We're going to be using camel pose a few times through our practice today. So you have plenty of time to warm up. And then exhale, come back into child's pose. On your next inhale, rising up into tabletop. We're going to work with the shoulders a little bit in thread the needle. So starting with the left arm, as you inhale, reach the left arm up to the sky. And as you exhale, put that arm underneath. And you can use a block here. If your head doesn't easily come down to the floor, you can place a block there. Otherwise, slide your arm away from you until your head and your shoulder come down on the floor. Now, a couple of options here. If this is feeling good, stay right here, or with your head on a block. And then you can experiment a little bit depending on how much activity you want. You can begin to extend that right leg towards your fingers here, and even consider a bind. If it's a strain, just release that knee back underneath you. There's also another option, a little bit more active, of floating that right leg up. So it becomes a little bit more of a balance and it begins to work at the hips a little bit. But if you really just want to work on the shoulders, just release that leg down the other knee to meet the left knee or into the bind that I just showed you. Take one more breath here. And then wherever you're at, that knee is up, release it down. And then let's inhale, rise up. And exhale, release that hand down. Let's do the second side. Right arm reaches up into a little twist. Exhale, slide it along. And bring the right ear, right side of the head, right shoulder down. Now again, stay right here. If this is feeling really nice for you, stay right here. You don't have to push it. Or extend the left leg towards the hand for a bind or almost bind. And if this feels really good, stay here. And if you want to play with what balance is like here, you can think about floating that leg up. And I can really feel this in my hips. As it's working to keep that leg up. Let's have another breath wherever you're at. And then slowly release that knee down if you've moved it. And then use your inhale breath to rise up. And exhale, bring that hand down. If you're working with down dog today, let's find our way into downward facing Pressing up and back. Down dog always feels really good for me to open the shoulders and through the hips and even the arches of my feet that feel really tight when I've been lifting and moving heavy pots and carrying potting soil around. The legs and hips and knees and arches get really tired, fatigued, and you can feel really good. Let's take one more breath here. And then as we exhale, walk your hands towards your feet or feet towards your hands. And you can take little baby steps and you can take them nice and wide. Actually, let's all walk our feet nice and wide. And we're going to come into Malasana. So bending the knees and coming down into Malasana. So a couple of options here. You can have your hands at your heart center and elbows into the knees. You can also be sitting on blocks or a couple of blocks to help assist you, especially if you're tight in your ankles. Try to, wherever you're at, try to lift your heart a little bit. And then let's lift the hips up into our forward fold Uttanasana. If you really feel like you wanted to take crow pose there, you could also take crow. And this is rock side to side if you're in your forward fold Uttanasana. Rock side to side, get into the hips just a little bit. And then let's inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to bow down. Inhale to rise up. Reach up to the sky, lengthen through the spine, and exhale down through your heart center. Let's come into tree pose. We're going to go from our tree pose, step back into warrior three. So rather than facing you in tree pose, I'm going to be at the top of the mat, just as you are at the top of your mat. So starting standing on the left foot, let's draw that right foot. Whoops. Draw your right foot up to wherever is the appropriate spot for you today. And if you wish, you can start with just drawing your shin in. You can tell today's going to be a really difficult balance day. Draw your right shin in like we're in Apanasana on the floor. And then from here, drawing the foot to whatever position you're going to take for your tree pose. And when you're in your tree pose, you're drawing that left hip in and up and the right knee back. And then perhaps you're even growing your tree. You seem to have a dancing tree today. It is windy out today. The day I'm recording this, it's very, very windy outside. I think there's a lot of wind in my yoga studio today as well. So from our tree pose, we're going to draw our hands down and begin to make fists. You know when you have blood drawn, they get you to make a fist because it brings more blood into the arm. So let's do that and then release that foot and send your fists out behind you the same time you're sending your foot out behind you into our warrior three position. And then softly step that foot down, coming into warrior one. Bring your hands to your heart center. Bring the heel down. If bringing the heel down isn't appropriate for you, stay up on your toes in crescent moon. And then reach up to the sky in our warrior one. Maybe lift the gaze and look up. Maybe inviting just a little back bend if you're ready for it. Exhale, hands come through your heart center. We're going to open for warrior two. So opening up to the side. Maybe extending that space between your feet a little bit. And then we're going to bring a little bit of a action to the arms here in our warrior two. So arms out in our typical warrior two to start. And then inhale, reach up to the sky, straighten the front leg, and maybe we imagine that we're picking the fruits of our labor from our garden off a tree. And as you do that, draw it down to your right hip, to your back hip. And then as we inhale, draw it forward and offer it up, bending that front knee. And then rise up into your warrior two. Inhale, straighten the front leg, reach up. We're going to do this 3 times. Exhale, draw that fruit to your back hip. Send it forward as you bend the knee. Inhale, come up. One more fruit here. Exhale, draw it to your back hip. Offer it up. Bend the front knee deeply. And then keeping the knee bent nice and deep, open up. And just notice how much deeper your warrior two might be right now. Turn your palms up. Opening a little more through that heart center with the palms facing up. Nice breath here. And then let's inhale, rise up. Let's come into reverse triangle. Front leg is straight, let the back arm come down. Lengthen through that left side body here in a reverse triangle. And let's windmill hands down. Step back into downward facing dog. Now you can take a regular flow here, going through your vinyasa of plank, chaturanga, lowering down for cobra or up dog. Or we can do that modified flow that we just did in the beginning, coming into child's pose, doing your cow pose, cat-cow, child's pose, and then sliding forward, coming onto the belly for your cobra or for your sphinx pose. Exhaling down, and then back into downward facing dog. Take a nice breath here. And let's all drop to our knees and come into our second camel pose. So you can do the same action with your hands with thumbs towards your spine on the sacrum. Toes can be curled under or flat. You can also bring your blocks along for the ride here, beside your shins, and reach back to your blocks. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do half camel. So let's bring right hand to your block or to your hip. And let's inhale, left arm up and over. So we're doing a little bit of a twist towards the right. As I said, right hand can be on your block, looking up, or on your hip. And then release that hand down. Let's do second side. So left hand comes to your hip or your block. Inhale, right arm up. And then looking to the left. And release down, child's pose. Let's inhale, rise up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Or you can stay in tabletop if that's the pose that works better for you. Take an inhale, really lengthen through the spine, lift the hips up off the waist, and let's walk our feet wide on our mat up to Balasana once again. Using the blocks under your seat if that's most appropriate for you. Hands can be at heart center. And if your knees don't bend, this is a great strengthening pose. You can have your hands down on the floor or on your blocks and hips lifted a little bit so there's not as much flexion in the knees. If you want to take crow pose, Bakasana, you can bring your hands down and move into a balance, which brings a lot of energy into the upper body, even if your feet don't come up. Or if you're just really exhausted from all the work you've been doing, stay in Malasana for one more breath. And then lifting the hips up, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bow down, belly draws in. Let's rise up, all the way up. Reach up, lengthen through the spine, and draw to your heart center. So we're moving into tree pose on the second side, so balancing on the right foot, which is usually my worst, so do better than me in your balance. So we can start with standing up Uttanasana by drawing that left shin in. Just get a little opening through the hips. And then from there, moving into your tree pose, bringing the foot to whatever position is most appropriate for you. I sometimes find balancing on a block brings better balance than balancing on your mat. If you're like me and having a bad balance day, you can try that as well. Just going to take a low tree today. So again, you can grow your tree and stay lifted through that standing leg, that right hip, and externally rotating the left knee. And then let's begin to make our fists and bring a flow of blood into the arms and the shoulders as we extend back into our warrior three. I think I'm going to come off my block for this. So sending the foot back at the same time we're sending the fist back, keeping the heart lifted as we extend back. Oh my goodness. This ankle of mine is not helping my practice. All right, and let's step it back for warrior one. I hope you managed to do better than me on that side. Let's bring hands to heart center in our warrior one, or the back heel lifted for crescent if you have ankle or knee issues. And then let's reach it up, look up, lengthen up, maybe inviting a little bit of a back bend. Take one more breath, and then draw the hands to heart center. Let's open for warrior two. So as you open into your warrior two, I'm just going to switch sides here. We'll do that same warrior two action that we did on the first side. So as we inhale, straighten the front leg, reach up for that fruit. And then as you exhale, draw it to your back hip, send it forward, offer it up as you bend into that front knee. Rise up, straighten the front leg, find the fruits of your labor, draw it down to your back hip, bend and offer it up. One more time, reach up, straighten the front leg, grab your fruit to the back hip, offer it up. Nice deep bend on that front knee. Let's just open into our warrior two with palms up and keep that deep bend in the front leg. Reaching through the fingers and shoulder blades going down the back. Take one more breath here. And then let's straighten and reach up and move into reverse triangle. So let the back arm come down as you lengthen through that whole right side body. And then windmilling the hands down to the mat, stepping back, downward facing dog. Again, you can take your flow here, move through your back bend, through your plank, or do the modified flow that we did for our first and second round in the practice. And let your back bend that you choose be nice and opening. I'm going to intertwine my fingers behind my back in my cobra. And lengthen and let my heart open. Lengthen the legs so much that they float up. And then release down and back into downward facing dog. And if you haven't already met us in downward facing dog, you can meet us in down dog. And then drop down to your knees. We're going to another round of camel pose. So this time, grab your blocks. You can have your blocks alongside your shins here. And maybe you reach back to your blocks this time and open into your camel. Maybe you're ready to reach to your heels. Or maybe you're still working right here, giving yourself a little bit of ease and staying right here, just really working on lengthening up through the spine and lifting the heart like a seed bursting forth from your heart, reaching up to the sky. One more breath. And then using the strength of the core, come back to center. Release the hips down. Blocks off to the side if you were using them. And come into child's pose. or child's pose, either coming into table or down dog. We're going to float the right leg up to the sky in three-legged dog or three-legged table. And then we're going to step that foot wide on our mat. So stepping on the outside of your right hand. And you can use your blocks here again. So we're moving into lizard and variations of lizard. So you might bring your forearms to your blocks here. This might be where your lizard is. You might stay on straight arms. You might have one block, two blocks, no blocks. You choose what your lizard is going to look like, and you can also bring the knee down. Eventually, we're all going to have our knee down for our lizard. And next week, we're going to work with lizard a little bit with some blocks and some different variations of it. So if you don't have blocks, see if you can get a hold of some by next week. And now, if you're down on forearms or on your block, come to a straight arm. We're going to bend that back knee in our twisted monkey. And so if you're really tight, I'm feeling really tight today, you might just have the knee bent and not actually reach back to your hand. You might just reach up to the sky. I can feel a lot of action happening in my psoas muscle just doing this. Or you might reach back. If you choose to reach back, you can begin to open, looking up to the sky, so opening through the body. You can even come to your forearm if you wish, if this is appropriate for you. But don't force it, just choose what works for you. But that leaning back a little bit with the twist and this front body opening just feels really juicy. Let it feel juicy, not painful. And then without slingshotting your foot, slowly release it down. And you might, as we step back, you might bring that knee down and step back into, actually no, sorry, we're not stepping back. We're moving into half splits by walking back and straightening that front leg. Kind of doing the opposite. And you might have your blocks here to assist you. So you kind of fold over that front leg. And then there's also the option, I'm going to just go to the side a little bit and slide my heel forward using my blocks. This is only an option. You don't have to take this variation. But sliding forward into sort of a Hanumasana, my variation of Hanumasana. I can't come all the way down. My hip flexors are a bit tight today. But using blocks to support you if you're taking this variation. Or staying in the first one with the back knee bent. Not forcing once again, but pressing both the front heel if you're taking this variation and your back toes so that there's some strengthening happening in the hips, not just going as open as you can. And if you're in that variation, slide it back. Find your way back into downward facing dog or tabletop, depending which variation you're working with. And let's move into second side. So left leg floats up. Step it wide on your mat on the outside of that left foot. And then again, use your blocks under the forearms. I like to stack the blocks so that the short end is just inside the arch to give you a little more space to put forearms on. And remember, you can use two blocks. And so always your option in your lizard, whether or not you have the back knee up or the back knee down for the first little bit here. I also like to slide and glide a little bit in my lizard, get some opening. And then drop the back knee. Coming up to straight arms, we're moving into our twisted monkey. So remember, you might stay here with hands, with your right hand down, your left hand maybe on your knee, and just bend the back leg. And this might be where you stay. Feels really juicy, stay here. And begin to twist towards your left side. Play with maybe reaching the left arm up. Again, don't force it. Stop along the way wherever it feels good. And don't keep going if you're at your max. Maybe reaching back towards the foot, even if it doesn't touch. Just see where you feel juicy sensation and stay there. And then you might begin to lean back and open up and look up. Breathe deeply here. Let your breath help to make space in those tight spaces. And then release. So moving into our reverse, like a low reverse lunge or half Hanumasana, half splits. Leaning over that front leg, you can have your hands on your blocks here. Maybe you're way up here. It's all good. Or maybe I'm going to have to do this on my second side because I did it on the first. You can slide your heel off your mat and come into whatever depth of Hanumasana or splits your body is ready for today. But again, press it to that heel and the back toes so that you're adding strengthening, not just opening here. Taking another breath, whichever variation you're in. And then sliding back into either tabletop or straight into downward facing dog. You get to choose. And then we're all going to come down to our bellies on the mat. So getting there however you wish. You can go through Chaturanga. You can go through our cow and just glide forward onto your forearms. I know there's a lot of people with wrist and shoulder issues, so that's a good way for you to get there without causing undue stress. We're going to come into half bow pose. So start by bending the right leg and extending the left arm either straight out in front of you or forearm to the mat so that you're lifting yourself up a little bit. It makes it a little easier to reach back to that foot. So you can grab your ankle or your foot and just begin to draw that leg in initially. You can work at extending the left arm. So it gives a nice opening into that quad muscle there. And then come back to space pose and let's do our second side. So forearm perpendicular or parallel to the top of your mat, bend the left leg and reach back. And you can kind of twist a little bit, turn towards your left here. And if you have the space and you just want to extend that arm, you can extend that arm and you can even lift that arm, the right arm that is. And then release that leg, don't slingshot it, release that leg down. If you feel like you want to move into full bow with both legs, you can go ahead and do full bow by bending the knees and drawing the shoulders back. Opening the front body. This is a nice energizing pose, and it's also really good for calming the nervous system as well with the belly down, regulating digestion. Your other option is Salabhasana with arms extended back, hands intertwined, or you can even bend the knees. Take one more breath in whichever variation you're in, and then release down. Rock the hips from side to side, maybe rocking, swiveling the shins from side to side, and then press back, child's pose. We've got an option for one more camel pose. So from your child's pose, just rise up, reach up, and let the arms come back to whatever position you want to work with your camel pose. Maybe you want heels, maybe you want hands at your sacrum supporting you as you lift and open the shoulders, open the heart, lengthen through the spine. Taking a nice breath here. Using the strength of your core to come back up out of it. And then take either child's pose or down dog if you feel like down dog is what you might be feeling to lengthen through your back. And I'm going to take a down dog here. But you might feel like child's pose is what your body really needs right now. Take 2 more breaths, and whatever pose you've chosen, your counter pose for your camel pose, that was our last one of the camel poses. And then we're going to come down onto our back. And so you can have your blocks handy. We're going to do bridge. You have option for supported bridge. And we're also going to take an option for an inversion. And that inversion might just be your legs up with hips on the block, or it might be shoulder stand, or if headstand's in your wheelhouse, you might decide you want to do a headstand. This just brings a lot of blood to the upper body and to the brain and can be very invigorating when you're really tired. So you get to choose if you want to do headstand against the wall. You might want to move your mat to the wall now. Otherwise, just come onto your back. I'm not going to be teaching headstand and shoulder stand today, but if it's in your wheelhouse and you want to do it, you go ahead and do that. I'm going to be showing the legs up with the block under the hips. So we're all going to start with bridge pose. So pressing the elbows in with fingertips reaching up to the ceiling if you choose this variation, or hands just by your side. And you can actually hang on to the side edges of your mat for bridge if you've got some things going on your shoulder and you don't want to intertwine your fingers underneath. So use an inhale to lift up. Walk the outside edges of the arms or the shoulders underneath you. And you can continue holding onto the edge of the mat. You can intertwine your fingers or press the elbows into the floor. So your other option here is a supported bridge. And if you're feeling really tired, this feels great. Everything doesn't have to be effort. This creates that inversion so that there's more blood flow to the brain and to the head. It feels really nice. So choose what feels good for you. It doesn't always have to be effort in order to energize. You take one more breath wherever you're at, and then you can lower down nice and slow. Let your hips settle. Now we're going to do either one more round of bridge. You might choose wheel. I've got a shoulder thing going on, so I'm not going to go into wheel. I probably could, but I'm not going to risk injuring my shoulder more. But if you're choosing wheel and you've done wheel and it's in, again, wheel in your wheelhouse, your fingers move towards your shoulders, and this is a lot of pressure on the wrists as well. Elbows move in and move into it just like you would bridge pose. Start lifting the hips, press into the floor and come to the top of your head before you press all the way up. Otherwise, come into a second round of bridge pose. And it might be supported bridge. And so now here's where your options can vary. If you're in wheel or upward facing bow, you'd stay there for a couple more breaths. If you're in bridge, you can bring a block under your hips and raise the legs up. So this is kind of like a modified shoulder stand where we've got the inversion happening through the legs and the head and chest are lower than the hips. And so you can stay here. If you're in wheel, you can come down and move into this after you've given your spine a little rest on the floor, your sacrum a little rest on the floor. You can also move into full shoulder stand if that's in your wheelhouse. And so you might move into plow pose by reaching the feet overhead. Pause there for a moment. And then move into your shoulder stand. Or you might decide that Headstand is where you need to go. Headstand is really calling you. And it could be against the wall. If you have one of the headstand chairs like I have, you could do that. Or just do what I'm doing here with my hips on a block, my legs reaching up. This feels great. I'm tired from my day. I don't feel like efforting more. This is what I want. This is what I want for my inversion. But you do you. And at a different day, a different time of day, what you feel like you want to do at this part of the class for your inversion might be different. Do what Sorry about my alarm dog. It's windy and the wind sets him off. He thinks there's somebody outside. I forgot he was there. Let's take a couple more breaths wherever you are at, whatever variation of inversion you're in. And when you're ready, begin to find your way back down to your mat, removing props, coming out of your shoulder stand or headstand, and taking child's pose. Whatever little counter pose you need to do, depending what position you were just in. And just pause there. So if you were in headstand, you should be in child's pose right now. And if you were in supported bridge, just knees bent with your pelvis down on the mat. And if you're in shoulder stand, same position, just knees bent, hips, pelvis, or back of the pelvis down on the mat. Let's take a couple more breaths here, and we're going to move into a twist. So if you're in child's pose after your headstand, come onto your back, extend your arms, bend the knees. And let's move into the twist. So I'm going to draw your knees into your chest, thighs to your belly, and just rock from side to side, and then let your knees drop over to the right side. Like your knees are moving towards your elbow. Let your head roll away. And let this be an opening in the chest as well. As you exhale, as the belly twists towards the left, it allows that left shoulder to come down on the mat, which allows more opening through the heart center. This feels like a nice unwinding, so just let it be supportive. And then as you inhale, let's come back to center. Maybe rock from side to side again, and let the knees drop over to the left elbow. As you look right, and remember as you exhale, the belly can slide to the right. It facilitates that right shoulder to come down to the floor. And then let your next inhale draw knees back to center. You want to wrap your arms around and rock side to side. You can do that. And we're going to be moving into your final Shavasana. So if you need any last minute happy baby socks, sweaters, blankets, go ahead and do that. And then move into your final Shavasana. And as you move into your final Shavasana, I'm going to guide you into a short little relaxation, kind of a meditation. So take a moment to settle and feel all the contact points of your body on that earth plane beneath you. Feel into the back of the head, the shoulder blades, the sacrum and back of the pelvis. The weight of your your heels and the calves. And then I'll invite you to bring your awareness to your hands and feel as though your hands are unfurling out of fists. Feel into your palms as though you're releasing a fist and relaxing the fingers. And then feel into the soles of your feet as though they were in fists, and you're softening the skin, the muscles, all the way to the bone of the feet. And then bring awareness to the outer corners of your eyes. And see if you can soften that outer corner of the eyes. And awareness to the inner corners of the eyes. And soften the inner corners in that space between your eyebrows. And bring awareness to your right ear. And awareness to your left ear. See if you can soften everything around both your ears. And then awareness to your tongue. And soften the floor of your mouth away from the roof of your mouth. Bring awareness to the pelvic floor. And soften all the muscles in the pelvic floor. So as you inhale, the breath travels into the belly and you can feel the softening in the pelvic floor. And as you exhale, release everything in the body towards the earth. And just scan your body if there's any areas of tension or gripping. And if there is, imagine that tension or that gripping you feel in that part of your body. Like the bud of a flower. And as you inhale, breathe into that space, that flower bud. And as you exhale, allow that flower bud to unfurl, to release, to open, and release all that energy available to you and the rest of your body. Maybe you need to do that again and inhale into that area of tension or gripping. And as you exhale, releasing that bud into an open flower and releasing all the energy held there to be available to you, to utilize. And now just let yourself drift into stillness, softness, and quiet for the next few minutes. might choose to remain here in Shavasana for a little bit longer. Allow yourself to soak up all that energy you created in your practice, allowing it to be absorbed in every cell. You might make your way to a seat and get ready to move out into the rest of your day. Either way, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Have a wonderful day and namaste. Thank you for joining me for this practice today. And see you next week.